Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to the Musical Connections podcast. This is the start of a brand new series here on the show called 15 Years on the Lawnya. So, Lawnya Vawnya is a multidisciplinary arts and music festival that's held around during the first week of June. It is their 15th year in operation, and this is going to be a series where we speak with some of the members, some of the performers, and delegates that are part of the 15th Annual Independent Festival here in St. John's. Joining me right now, she is one of the members of the Flourish Festival in Fredericton, New Brunswick. She's also a member of our brand new band, Penny in the Pits, and she played in Motherhood for 15 years and still going. Joining me right now is Penelope Stevens. How are you doing, Penelope?
I'm doing great. I'm a little hungover, I'll not lie, but otherwise I'm doing great.
Yes, we're recording this the day after you had your very first show as Penny in the Pits at the Ship. How did that go?
It went great. Yes, it was a little scary, but only from my side, just because it was our first show. So I was a little nervous, but the crowd was really lovely, and they all wanted to buy me drinks after. So that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah, drinks to celebrate the great show and the great first gig. But you've been performing for years. You were playing in Motherhood for 15 years. So tell me a little bit about that first.
So Motherhood is kind of like my first true love. We've been playing together since we were teenagers, based out of Fredericton. It's me and my friends Adam and Bryden, and it's like experimental punk art rock music. Yeah. So this is kind of my first time being on tour without them. It's weird, but it's nice, but I miss them a little.
Yeah, like a little intimidating, but like at the same time, you step outside your comfort zone, try something new, and really see where this new Penny in the Pits project can take you. And from the impressions of your first show last night, it seems like everything went well.
Yeah, I think so. It was like it was a fun experiment. I've never really played music with other femme people. I've been very used to being in bands with a lot of guys, and that's okay. And in those genres, they're still very male-dominated genres, so I'm used to that and happy in that space, but it was a fun experiment to sort of bring out some other femme people and see what that feels like. And it definitely feels different. It feels a lot different.
Oh, I'd say. But if bands like the Go-Go's and the Beaches are an example of having a successful female rock band, I mean, who knows what Penny in the Pits will accomplish now that you just had your first show.
Well,
and you're going to be releasing an album in a few weeks, right?
Yeah, the album comes out June 27th on Forward Music Group, which is a label based in Halifax. The album's called Liquid Compactor, and it's sort of like it's a loose concept album about a girl gang that discovers an underwater machine called the Liquid Compactor, and it's like a godlike sort of figure, and so they capture the liquid compactor and harness its power to do their vengeful bidding. So they seek revenge on those who have done them wrong.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. It was sort of a concept that I was dreaming up over the pandemic. I was swimming in a hotel pool, the Lord Beaverbrook Hotel in Fredericton, and I have a lot of chronic pain from playing in bands for so long and bartending. Okay. So swimming is one of the only things that kind of loosens those muscles in like a low impact way. So I spent a lot of the pandemic, because there's no one in the hotels, just swimming in that pool every day, at least once a day, sometimes twice, and just kind of staring up through the skylight in that indoor pool, and just sort of processing a lot of trauma and grief and big feelings. And so that's sort of where this concept came from, the liquid compactor as like a metaphor for a tool that can help you process big emotions and sort of compact them down into useful bits. And in this case, it sort of compacted them into songs.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to change subjects here, because this is the first time I've really heard about you. You're also one of the delegates with the Flourish Festival, but we'll talk about that later. Who is Penelope Stevens, the person? Tell me a little bit about yourself. So, like, who you are, where you're from, what you do in the industry, and all that jazz.
Yeah, so I live in St. John, New Brunswick. I'm mostly from Fredericton, and I've worked in the music industry for a long time, but over the last few years I've sort of stepped out of most of those roles to focus on more just being an artist. But I am a bartender and a musician. I do visual art, and I also work for Flourish Festival, which is similar to Lawnya Vawnya in Fredericton. It's a little bit smaller now, but it's a multidisciplinary arts festival. Happens downtown and is sort of a similar aesthetic like sonically as far as like experimentation and discovery. So it's me and my two best friends that run that festival. It's really fun.
So who are those other two best friends by chance?
Katie Hamill, who she's also an interdisciplinary artist and a researcher. She's an academic. And then my other friend, Jane, who actually lives in the UK, but she comes home for the festival. She's also a really talented musician, Jane Blanchard.
Okay.
Yeah, she's great.
Lovely. So I want to stick with the Flourish Festival next because you said it's like comparable to Lawnya Vawnya in a way of like, having to be a multidisciplinary arts and music festival and stuff.
Yeah.
What are some of the similarities and differences between, say, the Flourish Festival and Lawnya Vawnya?
Well, we're not 15, but we just had our 11th edition just a couple weeks ago. Last week? Yeah. 2 weeks ago, last week. Anyway,
whenever this drops,
very recently. And yeah, it's a like a femme-led festival that we try to create space for all sorts of different levels of experience and expertise. So we have a lot of like all ages bands, some folks that play their first show, like I just did last night, and then having some sort of like bigger headliners that come through. But yeah, it really is just focused on community and like it's built around one sort of central location, the CAP, which is a really critical music venue and community space in Fredericton that has been around for 25 years.
Wow.
And survives against all odds. But the CAP is probably the number one place in New Brunswick that keeps music alive. So we try and support it as much as we can. So now we've started focusing our festival around that space.
Yeah, and those spaces are really needed to, help that music scene really stay alive, and especially the independent music scene. Because there's the tiers of the sector where you have the independents, do-it-yourself people, and then you have some of those that break through from the glass ceiling to go into that superstar status. But having spaces like that are very essential for the development of the music industry as a whole. It benefits everybody in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. And even for Motherhood, like Penny in the Pits hasn't actually played the CAP yet, but we will in July.
Awesome.
But for Motherhood, like that's where we kind of grew up. Like that space we were playing there, I was definitely sneaking in underage to play.
Oh God!
Just for the first year of Motherhood, I was like, don't do coming in the back door. But that was really where we like. They continued to let us play and experiment, and like when we started, we were very bad. We were bad, but we had heart and soul. But Zach continued to book us and just let us. Gave us space and time to get better. And I think spaces like that, if communities lose their live music venues, then, the scene sort of dies with it. So.
Absolutely. And it's not good for anybody because without those spaces, we just recently lost Second Stage here downtown Water Street. And that was really helpful for bands like so some of the bands here, like Book Club and Bright Clip and Neil Crafts, like all of them would go down there and practice. And I think some of them formed down there. Yeah. So not having that space is bad. And also, if you lost the CAP, that's catastrophic, really.
Oh, we can't even. Let's not even talk about that.
I know.
We can't think about that.
But I'm just saying in general, that could be catastrophic for the scene in general.
Oh, it would be a death blow for sure. Yeah.
So, what brings you here to Lawnya Vawnya? I know this is your fourth time when you and I were talking off the air here.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if it's my third or fourth. I've been here a few times. I did the drive and the ferry once, and that was enough. So I've flown in every other time. But yeah, to tour in Newfoundland from the mainland, it's quite expensive, as I'm sure everyone is aware of. So having Lawnya Vawnya is sort of like an anchor to get us here, and they're pretty generous with their support of being able to at least help us cover our costs to get here. So it really makes it more accessible to come to the island. I've only ever been to Newfoundland to play Lawnya Vawnya, so thanks y'all.
So do you hope like this experience now, because this is your third or fourth time here in St. John's playing Lawnya Vawnya and being a part of the festival, do you hope to be here in St. John's in the future, or maybe say other parts of the province where they may have smaller venues for you to play and really expand your reach here in our province?
Yeah, absolutely. I find it hard because Penny in the Pits and Motherhood are both sort of a little bit more high intensity, leaning towards punk. And so I found in my years of touring that sometimes smaller towns, there's not necessarily an audience for that or a space that's appropriate for that. So you end up playing in, in like a theater space or something that really doesn't match the vibe. So it can be hard sometimes. Like in New Brunswick, there's a lot of small towns that it just doesn't make sense for us to play sonically. But it depends on the community. Like we've definitely played some smaller towns where there's like a huge punk scene against all odds. So it really depends on the spot. But yeah, I mean, if you want to book my band in your smaller town in Newfoundland, we'd love to see you. We'd love to play for you.
So I'm going to mention a couple of people. Nigel, Penny and the Pits, book them for 62 Broadway. I know quite a fair amount of people here from the amount of episodes I've done of this show and the amount of times I've covered in the industry. So I will definitely help you out with that as well.
Great.
So how did this whole music journey start for you, Penelope?
Well, I grew up in church in like a pretty strict religious home. So I was playing in like church bands, and I was in handbell choir and all the choirs that you could be in. Was in like a Christian school too. So, say what you will about religious spaces, but they certainly know how to sing. So, doing that and then taking piano lessons all growing up. So I was like, classically trained as a piano player.
That's fine.
And then, I met the members of Motherhood when I was 18, somewhere around there. And so I was originally just like coming up and singing a few songs with them as like the girl in the band. And then I was playing a little bit of keys here and there. And then our bass player quit. And I was
wow.
Oh, I could probably figure that out. It doesn't look that hard. It was hard, but
we all start somewhere though.
Yeah, exactly. So I learned how to play bass in Motherhood, and then this is the first project like with Penny and the Pits. It's my first time playing guitar in a band. So definitely learning a lot, and I have a lot of practicing to do, but it's been really fun.
So what was like in your record collection growing up? Like you said these bands like that you've formed, like Motherhood and Penny and the Pits, and have been like a part of for many, many years. Like Penny Pit's just like fresh as daisies right now. It's more like experimental punk rock and stuff. How did you go from like growing up in a church kind of like home and like singing in the church to going to punk music? Like how did it all come together?
Well, most of it didn't really happen until I got out of the church, because the community that I was a part of was very fundamental and very intense and like a high control sort of situation. So I wasn't listening to any music that wasn't Christian music until I was like, it's about the time that I joined Motherhood, to be honest. So I had a lot of catching up to do. So I still sort of get not made fun of, but it's kind of a joke in my band because I don't know anything. I don't know who Led Zeppelin or Pink Floyd. I can never tell the difference. Like I don't know any of that stuff because I missed all of that growing up. So I spent a pretty intense, 4 or 5 years after leaving the church of like catching up. I mean, like, oh my God, there's a whole world of music out here that I wasn't exposed to. So still catching up.
So who are some of those bands? I mean, you mentioned Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd. Who in the punk scene were you really listening to help you catch up with the rock and roll?
I don't know. It's hard to just kind of pull names out of a hat, but as far as like influences on Penny and the Pits, like some of the older surf bands, like definitely the Ventures and Dick Dale, that sort of stuff. The 5, 6, 7, 8s are probably one of the biggest influences on my music. But yeah, and then like Sonic Youth and that sort of stuff.
Okay.
That makes a lot of sense to me. But then more recently, St. Vincent, the Yeah Yeah Yeahs would be a huge influence. I don't know. Actually, I have an influences playlist on Apple Music, so you can just go there. I've got them all listed.
I'll put that link in the description of this conversation once this goes up to YouTube, and also goes up to when this is uploaded, when this drops, really. Anyways, you played your first show last night at the Ship, and great show, yo. You had Andy and the Dannies. You were in the middle of the Andy and the Dannies and Little Fauna, who just released their own EP May 30th, I think.
Yeah.
And how did that show go, and how did it feel to be like front and center and like playing some of your own music now that like Or because when you came into Motherhood, you started learning the bass and stuff like that. So how did it feel to be front and center with your own group?
Yeah, well, I mean, Motherhood is very much my group as well. It's it's a three-piece that we all write the music equally, so there's a huge compositional aspect that is mine in
Got it.
Motherhood for sure, but I'm definitely not the lead singer in Motherhood, and I do a lot of the sort of like entertaining aspect of a motherhood show as far as talking to the audience and stuff, but it is a different dynamic. Motherhood's music is very complex, and there's a lot going on, and it is big concentration, but we've been together for so long that that sort of language between the band members sort of comes naturally, whereas with this new project, I'm still navigating that and trying to build that relationship with my bandmates. And just sort of, when you have your like close collaborators that you can be like, I don't know, what do you think about this? Does it suck or does it rule? I don't know. And they can tell you because you have that level of trust. When it's Penny in the Pits, it's like, hey, what do you think? And then there's no one in the room. It's just me trying to make these decisions. So there definitely was like an element of being a little insecure or unsure about the music. It was my first time ever writing lyrics.
Oh,
so
wow.
all of that stuff, I'm like, I don't know, guys. Like putting the first single out, I was like, does it rule or does it really suck? I have no idea because I'm so used to having those other two voices that can sort of give you that assurance or that criticism.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's been well received, so thank God.
That's wonderful. But when you're going into something new, you got to start somewhere. You don't start at the very top. You got to work your way up to where you want it to go to. But I'm glad it's been well received so far. Yeah. So you work on the technical side of things for the Flourish Festival, and that's based out in Fredericton, you said, right? Yeah. So how important are independent festivals like the Flourish Festival, and especially like Lawnya Vawnya here in St. John's? How important are those festivals to the development of our arts and music sectors?
Well, I mean, they're one thing for the artists and musicians, but I think for the larger community, it really builds connections that last a lifetime and last a career. So, seeing things at Flourish Festival, seeing bands that are playing their very first show and they're in like middle school or high school, and then they get to see, some of the older bands in their community that they would have never seen play before, and seeing those like connections being formed person to person, but also like you can kind of see the wheels turning in the younger bands. And then just as far as like building community, like being at festivals, it's when I meet a lot of people in other bands from other parts of Canada or the world, and those connections are sort of what can help build your touring networks and stuff. So getting to know other bands at this festival, and then we'll hit them up when we're in their town next time and be able to tour with them. So it definitely helps strengthen the larger network across Canada.
Oh, 1,000%. Now, there's a whole host of bands from our province that you can really choose from to either, bring to Fredericton to play at the Flourish Festival, or maybe, go on a tour where, if you come through a tour from Newfoundland and Labrador, they can open up for you. Yep. So who are you looking forward to seeing this week? So from a, out of province standpoint, and then from a Newfoundland and Labrador standpoint?
Oh, I can't really answer that. I saw some great bands, but I was so focused on just getting through my set that today I'm just going to go where the wind takes me.
It's all good.
But I'm sure, I know there's a lot of great bands playing, but the information recall of having to spout particular band names is not my strength.
Oh, no, it's all good. It's all good. I'd just like to ask that just to, because there may be some people that you were really excited to see, and you really want to say, hey, I want to play a little fun. I want people like Bus People from Corner Brook to open up for me. I want the Andrew Smith Band to come out for me and, open up for me. Mm-hmm. And maybe I can bring them over to Fredericton to play at the Flourish Festival. But there's so much going on here. It's hard to really keep track of all of it. I mean, I've done this podcast for almost 125 episodes. It's hard to keep track of all the releases I have each and every single week.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Don't worry about it.
Well, with the Motherhood show, if we were the band that was playing this weekend, then it would be I'd have a lot more mental headspace because I wouldn't be as stressed about my own set. So I think most of my energy leading up to Lawnya Vawnya was just okay, get ready for my show. So now that it's over, I'm like, oh, what am I gonna do today? The stress is gone.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, what do you hope to take away from this experience, Lawnya Vawnya?
I mean, just getting to see some bands, getting to connect with the community here. It's been really nice to just be able to explore the city. Like St. John's is so beautiful. It reminds me of St. John, where I live, in a lot of ways, but it's also very different. So yeah, just like kind of bopping around. All of my bandmates, we've all been shopping a lot. So
Awesome.
hopefully we sell enough merch that we can fit all of the stuff in the suitcase on the way home.
And you're supporting,
It's going to be tight.
and you're supporting local, which is great to
Supporting
hear.
the local economy. Absolutely. It's the least we can do.
Yes, and that's another thing too. Like if you're supporting local bands, you're supporting the local industry, and then like it's like a snowball effect
Yeah.
for much larger growth for the sector as a whole.
Exactly.
So, do you have any future plans to have an album release show back in your home province? Do you plan on coming back here to Newfoundland and Labrador for like doing some other shows to say probably do like an Atlantic Canadian tour?
Yeah, once again, like this project, I was not unsure, but just sort of like treading softly. The concept of the record and sort of the subject matter is fairly personal and intense. So I just wanted to see sort of like how it's going to feel, how the audience is going to respond, but also like how I'm going to feel in my heart and soul. So yeah, we do have some shows booked. Our next show is at Sled Island in Calgary. And then after that, the album will come out the week after that. And so then we have like a New Brunswick and Nova Scotia tour. And then, yeah, there's a couple shows here and there, but mostly just kind of like set that number of shows and then assessing from there to see how it feels and if we need to make some adjustments, and then looking to book for next year, depending on that. But yeah, I didn't want to like overstep and then, have a full slate of shows and just like not feel comfy or feel like I wanted to pursue it. So yeah, taking some baby steps.
No.
Well, baby steps being like our first show at Lawnya Vawnya and our second show at Sled Island. So they're not the babyest of steps, but
No, absolutely. But again, as we said before, you got to start somewhere.
got to start somewhere.
So for people who want to find out more about Penny and the Pits, Penelope Stevens in general, and about the Flourish Festival and when that takes place, where can they go to find all that information when it comes to, say, socials, social media, and the website?
Yeah, the best way to keep up with Penny and the Pits is definitely on Instagram. So it's Penny_and the Pits. I am a cocktail bartender, so I do a lot of reels about cocktails as well. So I've been making cocktails for every song on the album. So if you like cocktails, this is pretty good content. I also have a really cute dog, so there's lots of stuff to watch there. And then, yeah, for Flourish Festival, same deal. Probably Instagram is the best, or our website is flourish-fest.com. And yeah, we may end up doing something in the fall, but otherwise it's, it would be next spring.
Wonderful. Well, Penelope Stevens, thank you for coming back to St. John's again to play at Lawnya Vawnya. And hopefully outside of Lawnya Vawnya, you come back here to probably, like, say, do a show with Penny and the Pits. And we'd be more than happy to have you back and welcome you back to the Rock.
I'm happy to be back.
It is hot here, but like
know.
the temperature when it comes to all the talent that we have here and all the people that we have here at Lawnya Vawnya, it's heating up in a big way. Penelope Stevens, thanks for doing this.
Thank you.